The high priest Caiaphas, before whom Jesus was now brought for a regular trial, had been in office many years. He was a shrewd, sharp man, caring very little about right or wrong, but always ready to do whatever would please the Jewish leaders without giving offense to the Roman rulers. You remember that after Jesus raised Lazarus to life and many people were believing in Jesus, it was this Caiaphas who said, "No matter whether Jesus is innocent or guilty, whether he is good or bad, the easiest way for us to avoid trouble is to kill him, and that we must do." That showed the spirit of Caiaphas, the high priest. The officers and policemen took Jesus into the large hall of the high priest's house, where all the members of the Jewish council that could be brought together so suddenly were gathered. It was a little after midnight when Jesus was made prisoner in the garden, and it must have been between 4 and 5 o'clock on Friday morning when Jesus stood before Caiaphas and the council. Peter had come with the crowd and was in the court of the high priest's house. John was not there, but had gone to the house in Jerusalem, where Mary, the mother of Jesus, was staying, to bring her the terrible news that her son was in the hands of his enemies, and to try to give her comfort. By the law of the Jews, no one could be put to death unless 2 persons could be found to tell of a wicked act that they had seen him do, or wicked words that they had heard him speak, and also, the accounts of these 2 witnesses must agree. The rulers looked for witnesses to come and speak against Jesus of what they had seen and heard. They did not care whether these witnesses speaking against Jesus spoke the truth or spoke lies. All they wanted was to have them agree in their words. There were many who spoke falsely against Jesus, but what they said did not agree. After a time, 2 men stood up and said, "We ourselves heard this man say in the temple, 'I will destroy this temple made by the hands of men, and in 3 days I will build another made without hands.'" But even those witnesses did not agree in their account of what Jesus had said. You remember that 3 years before, in the temple, Jesus had said, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." But he was speaking not of the temple of the Jews, but of himself as the temple of the Lord, and of his own death and rising from the tomb. You see how these men changed the words of Jesus in the telling of them. Now, the Jews had agreed that for any man to speak of destroying the house of God was very wicked, and that whoever should speak of such a thing must be put to death. So, in the words of these 2 men, even though they did not agree and were false, Caiaphas and the council saw a chance to carry out their purpose of putting Jesus to death. The high priest Caiaphas stood up and said to Jesus in a very loud and fierce manner, "What have you to say of the things spoken by these witnesses? Have you no answer to give?" But Jesus stood silent and would not speak a word. He knew that speaking would not help him, for their minds were made up to kill him, whatever he might say. After a moment of waiting, Caiaphas spoke again. "Are you the Christ?" he asked, "the Son of that Blessed One?" Then Jesus spoke out once for all. "I am," he answered. "And what is more, you will all see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of Almighty God, and coming in the clouds of heaven." At this the high priest became furious. In his anger he tore his clothes and flung up his arms and cried, "What awful, awful words!" shouted the high priest. "Why, this man makes himself equal to Almighty God! We need no more witnesses. He has spoken his own doom. What shall be done to a man who calls himself God?" Then with one voice all the council said, "He deserves to die!" And the sentence of death upon Jesus was given.